I believe, first of all, we, by nature, human beings, they adapt to change because we're constantly changing. We are babies, and then we become toddlers, we become kids, we become little adults, senior citizens. To adapt is a mindset. Regarding change, to adapt is a mindset. We have to focus on what the future holds. We have to embrace changes. And the advocates of change, they are the ones who change the world. If we do not change, or these advocates of change were not there, what would have happened? We would still be in the caves. We'd be in caves. We wouldn't be changing. It changes constantly. I'd like to read a quote, if you don't mind, from my book.
Of course, sir.
Chapter,
All yours.
Chapter 13.
We really want to know what's there.
Chapter 13. Okay, a quote that sums this up.
I'm very curious to read the book, sir.
Inshallah. Okay. Quote, if you do not change, you will fall behind the changing times. If you do not develop, you will miss your ride on the world's express train. And if you do not gain knowledge, you will go backwards as days move forward. His Highness Sheikh. There is a skill that I use, and it's not mine, it wasn't coined by me. It's a book that I read, it was called Deep Work by Carl Newport. Deep Work. It's called time boxing. Now, time blocking. Time blocking. It's called time blocking. In time blocking, what you do is you take 90 minutes without any distractions whatsoever a week. As per his research, what he says is, if you block 90 minutes a week, once a week, that week is 30% more productive. Now, if you have 2 time blocks, now if I do the math, and according to him, if you have 2 time blocks, that's in a week, 5 days, that's 10 time blocks, so then 30 times 10 should be 300. So I should be 300% more productive. Now, I'm not saying that it's true, I'm not saying it's not, but it definitely works. I've tried it, I was blown away, and I encourage it.
Amazing.
But the most important thing is distractions. We live in a world of distractions. Our phone, the biggest distraction. I like to say a real story that happened to me. I was sitting with my son, and he was excited, and he was speaking, and then suddenly my phone rings. It doesn't ring, actually I get an email, and I see it was my CEO. So I'm reading the email, there's a problem, I'm replying, and he's talking and talking. And I didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to him at all. I finished, and then I looked at him up, and he was just looking at me. I was like, okay, what is it? He said, thank you, nothing. And he walked away. He left his basketball team. Until today, I do not know why, because I'm afraid to ask him. Keep distractions out of your life, right? Especially when you're time blocking and when you're with family. Family means family time.
So again,
corporates want to have profits, okay? Now, for me, it is every individual is. I'll tell you a different way. I use an experiment on exercise when people ask me. They tell me, or I ask them, I ask everyone, I say, who do you think is responsible for your growth, for your promotion, and for your well-being? Who do you think it is?
Myself.
Exactly. 95% of the time, but people come back to me and say, HR, my line manager, my boss. No, this is up to you. You know what skill sets are needed. You know what skill sets are going to be needed in the future. You tell me, what did you do differently to differentiate yourself within the organization?
True.
If you're doing that, all of that, nobody will come to you. Like you said, low performers, people who don't come. There are high performers out there who are searching for jobs. So everyone today should say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we have a job. And you know what? We are being looked after. Let's make the best of it. They need to develop themselves. That's something up to each individual. That's your birthright.
Would you have a minute to expand on the blank page theory, which you talked about?
Okay, blank page theory, like I said, is usually I take a blank page, and don't have a blank page here, but say this is a blank page. Okay, so I think about the blank page, and I think about it as if it's back of my head, especially when I use it. I started using it with my mother. So like I told you, my mother suffers from paranoia. So when she comes and she starts, it's today, whenever she speaks, I answer the question. I take my time. I answer the question. I answer again and again and again. Even the same questions, Tara. Every time she asks the same, and I keep answering and answering. And she feels good and I feel good.
Of course.
So that's what is the blank page. Anyone who comes, the problem is with us, we assume, what is he going to ask me? What if he asks me, okay, this I will answer that. Now, and what we do is, we hear, we don't listen. We are hearing sound, we are not listening. There's a difference. When you genuinely listen, you know and you have the right answers to give. You can guide. But if you're just hearing, to answer, to speak, that's when the blank page theory or the blank page method comes into play. I don't need to have anything at the back of my head. You talk. When I need to speak, I will speak. It helps a lot. Try it. You'll be surprised. Of the best introverts in the world are leaders. It doesn't have to do anything with introvert or extrovert. It actually has to do with how much. What's an introvert? Now, basically, if we look at an introvert, it is a person who goes to a party and comes back drained. Everybody takes his energy. So that's a good thing. But the extrovert goes to the party and he comes home, he's more hyper. He's taking everybody's energy. So I'd say the introvert is more of a leader than the extrovert because he gives.
True.
Leaders give.
True.
It's got nothing to do with introvert or extrovert.
So everyone can be a leader.
Everyone can be.
So here we are encouraging anyone who knows that he has or she has the skills, please improve it. Mr. Ahmed, coming to an end of this panel discussion, I really don't want it to finish, but this is the 7th question, but I don't believe it's the 7th. I came up with a lot of questions. What key strategies do you recommend for improving time management skills, specifically for busy professionals?
Okay. First of all, in terms of a mindset, we need to understand the average human being. The average human being has 6,200 thoughts a day. 6,200 thoughts a day, and we have on average around 27 conversations a day. So that's massive. And now, when we have one negative thought, what happens is it just keeps pulling one after the other. Soon, it becomes into a big heap. And the only way for us to focus or to remove this is to, I'd like to say is take it out, declutter your mind, take it out, write it. But what I do is I use a method, actually. I use it myself. I take a book. I always write. I write down everything. So I take a book, blank pages on the left and on the right. So I take out all the issues and problems that's in my head and I put it on the left page. After that, I go to the right page and I draw a line in the middle. On the left side, I write on top tasks, and on the right, circumstance. Now, let me tell you what a task is. A task is, the problem is I am overweight. So what's the task? The task is I need to go to the gym, I need to have a calorie deficit.
The struggle is real.
The struggle is real. What's a circumstance? Circumstance is now we all decide to go and have dinner, barbecue, outside, beautiful place, and suddenly it starts raining. That's a circumstance. I can't hold myself accountable. I cannot hold you accountable, and we cannot do anything about it. So, but to put it in more context, I'll tell you a true small life story. I got a message from the Ministry of Justice. So I've gone through a divorce, and I was happy. I was doing something very productive, and I got this message on Thursday. So getting a message that للحكم or for what's called for verdict. So getting a message from Ministry of Justice like that, any human being is like, what's going to happen? So the same thing happened to me. When I wrote it down, I wrote it the problem and then statement and then it's a circumstance. Why? Can anybody tell me if there is any way for you or me to influence the judge's verdict,